The sound of Vader's iconic breathing. That sound. For decades, it has been the sound of absolute power, the sound of a foot on the throat of the galaxy. It's the sound of fear itself, walking towards you in a black cape. When you hear it, you know a master of the dark side has arrived. That's what we've always been told. But what if I told you that's a lie? What if that sound isn't the sound of power, but of profound, unending suffering? The suit of Darth Vader is the most terrifying symbol in the Star Wars saga. But it is not a suit of armor. It is a prison. A mobile Iron Maiden designed by his master, Emperor Palpatine, with one single sadistic purpose: to keep Anakin Skywalker in a constant state of agony, because pain is the fuel for the dark side. Today, we are unsealing the schematics and revealing the 5 agonizing secrets of Darth Vader's suit. Coming in at number 5 is the very thing that kept him alive: his cybernetics. After his horrific duel on Mustafar, Anakin was more machine than man. To connect his charred flesh and shattered bones to the machinery, you'd expect advanced, seamless integration. But Palpatine chose something far more crude. Vader's limbs and organs were connected to the suit by a series of thick, unsterilized needles, or synth plugs, that were drilled directly into his nerve endings and spinal column. Imagine that for a moment. Every single movement you make, turning your head, raising your arm, taking a step, sends a jolt of sharp, piercing pain through your body. It's not a clean connection. It's a constant, agonizing reminder of your own brokenness. There was no anesthetic during the procedure. He was awake for all of it. This wasn't a flaw in the design. It was a feature. Palpatine needed his apprentice to be a raw, exposed nerve of hatred, and this constant grinding pain was the foundation of his new existence. This brings us to our 4th agonizing secret: his vision. The iconic, insect-like lenses of Vader's helmet were not advanced optical displays. They were a form of sensory torture. The helmet's processors fed him a view of the world that was permanently tinted in a sickening, blood-red hue. Everything he saw was distorted, a hellish landscape painted in the color of rage. But it was worse than that. The technology was deliberately archaic. His natural vision, enhanced by the Force, was far superior. The helmet actually degraded his ability to see, making the world a blurry, confusing place. It created a profound sense of isolation, cutting him off from the universe he once knew. He could never again see a sunset, a friendly face, or even his own reflection without it being filtered through this crimson nightmare. It was a psychological prison, ensuring that every waking moment, the world he saw matched the rage he felt inside. At number 3, we have a form of torture so subtle, so mundane, it's almost more horrifying than the rest. The constant, maddening itch. To replace his burned flesh, medical droids grafted synthetic skin onto his body. But the materials used were cheap, abrasive, and poorly suited for long-term use. The result was that Vader's entire body, encased in a hot, unbreathable suit, was plagued by a perpetual, agonizing itch. Think about the worst itch you've ever had. Now imagine having it all over your body, under layers of armor and machinery, for 24 hours a day, for decades, and you can never, ever scratch it. This wasn't the grand, operatic pain of a lightsaber wound. It was a low-level, grinding torture designed for one purpose: to drive him insane. It kept him perpetually agitated, irritable, and uncomfortable. It was a constant distraction that prevented any moment of peace or clarity, ensuring his mind could never wander from the anger and frustration that Palpatine needed him to feel. For our number 2 spot, we have the very sound that defines him. That rhythmic, mechanical breathing. We hear it as a sign of his power, but to him, it was the sound of his failure. The respirator was intentionally designed to be loud, clunky, and inefficient. It was a constant, audible reminder of his weakness. With every single breath, the galaxy was reminded that this terrifying Sith Lord was so broken, he couldn't even draw air into his own lungs without a machine doing it for him. He could never be stealthy. He could never know true silence. The quiet meditation of the Jedi was forever lost to him, replaced by the constant roar of the machine that kept his broken body alive. It was a public humiliation broadcast to everyone he met. More than that, the ventilator often malfunctioned, causing him to choke and gasp for air, a terrifying vulnerability that his enemies could exploit. It was a collar and a leash, reminding him that the powerful Darth Vader was still just the broken man who had failed on the shores of a lava river. But the number 1 most agonizing secret of Darth Vader's suit was its ultimate design flaw. The one that ensured he could never, ever surpass his master. The entire suit, his life support system, his mechanical lungs, his cybernetic heart, was deliberately designed with a crippling vulnerability to a specific energy type: Force lightning. And who was the galaxy's most powerful practitioner of Force lightning? Emperor Palpatine. This was the final, brilliant stroke of Palpatine's cruelty. He didn't just build Vader a prison. He built a prison where he, and only he, held the key to the execution chamber. Vader's ambition, his rage, his incredible power, it was all meaningless. Because at any moment, if he ever became a threat, if he ever tried to claim the title of Sith Master for himself, Palpatine could simply raise his hands and switch him off. His entire existence was a hostage situation. He served Palpatine not just out of a twisted sense of loyalty, but because his master held a literal kill switch to his life. The suit wasn't meant to save Anakin Skywalker. It was a crucible, a forge of pain and misery designed to burn away every last scrap of the hero he once was, and to temper the monster that remained. It was Palpatine's greatest, most terrible success. The armor didn't just contain Darth Vader. It created him,